Hey, what is going on? Thanks for stopping by this channel. Today we got Officer Tatum. He's talking about the New Mexico governor and her state of emergency to go after the Second Amendment. Let's see what he has to say.
You already know what to do. Let's get into this. Ladies and gentlemen, real quick, I'm at the crib and I have to make this video. People have been begging me, Brandon, please make a video about the New Mexico governor and her violation of the Constitution and the Second Amendment by banning the open and concealed carry of law-abiding citizens, essentially, for 30 days. Let me just read it because I got the article pulled up right here. I'm going to read you some of the details and I'm going to explain to you why I believe that this is a violation of the Constitution and these people are after your guns. They're not after protecting and serving. They're not here for any reason other than to try to find a loophole and a way into slowly but methodically eliminating your constitutional rights to keep and bear arms. Let me just read it to you. It says the ban was issued on this past Friday. Today is, I'm making this video, it's a Sunday. The ban was issued on Friday. It was a public health emergency declared by Ms. Grisham. And it allows the state to access different resources. The executive order, which covers Bernalillo, I'm probably saying that wrong, but I have a public school education, don't worry about it. County prohibits open and concealed firearms on state property, public schools, or public parks, with exceptions only for law enforcement or licensed security guards. It says residents with gun permits can still have weapons on private property. While traveling with a gun, a person must transport it in a way that makes firearms inoperable. That's stupid to me. It says in a lockbox or with a trigger lock, for example, those who violate the order can be subject to a fine up to $5,000. Now, there's another part here that I thought was very important, and I'll probably link the article so you can read it yourself, that is very important because just not being able to carry the gun isn't all. Let me explain to you. It says the governor's order also requires state regulators to inspect firearm dealers statewide every month. So it's just not in the county that covers Albuquerque. This is the entire state. This order is giving them the right to inspect statewide every month to check their compliance with sales and storage laws. And the order directs the state's Department of Health to gather demographic information like age, race, ethnicity, and gender of gunshot victims, informing or information on the brand and the caliber of the firearm involved and general circumstances leading to the injury. Now, let me explain to you why this makes no sense. This has nothing to do with gun safety. According to the governor, because some children had been shot in the Albuquerque County, in that area, as of late, she has decided to make this emergency order.
Yeah. But your point is valid.
You took an oath to the Constitution. Isn't it unconstitutional to say you cannot exercise your carry license?
With one exception, and that is if there's an emergency, and I've declared an emergency for a temporary amount of time, I can invoke additional powers. No constitutional right, in my view, including my oath, is intended to be absolute. There are restrictions on free speech. There are restrictions on my freedoms. In this emergency.
Okay. She just said, in her opinion, your constitutional rights and her oath are not absolute. Basically, what this woman is saying is the Constitution is just more or less, there for guidelines. They're not an exact law. They're not absolute. They're more like suggestions, like her oath, and determining how she feels at a given time on a given topic. She can change her oath, and she can neglect to adhere to your constitutional rights. Why is she in office? Whoever put her in office, yeah, you need to rethink stuff.
This 11-year-old and all these parents who have lost all these children, they deserve my attention to have the debate about whether or not in an emergency we can create a safer environment. Because what about their constitutional rights? I took an oath to uphold those too. And if we ignore this...
Hold up. You can't use oath as an argument when you just said your oath doesn't really matter. Your oath isn't absolute. Your oath can change. So you can't use oath as your argument. Try again.
Growing problem without being bold, I've said to every other New Mexican, your rights are subrogated to theirs. And they are not, in my view.
Wait a minute. You're talking about crimes. There are already laws against the crimes, so how are their rights?
I got it. But again, if I'm unsafe, who's standing up for that right? If this climate is so out of control, somebody should do something. I'm doing as much as I know to do.
Madam Governor, do you really think that criminals are going to hear this message and not carry a gun in Albuquerque on the streets for 30 days?
No.
Okay. No. So then who are you going after? You're not going after the criminal. Oh, that's right. You're going after the law-abiding citizen. You know, this reminds me of history in our country. The King of England tried the same thing. That's why this is the Second Amendment, because our founding fathers know that an unarmed population can be controlled. And ultimately, absolute power controls absolutely. An armed society is a check against the government from becoming what our founding fathers and the Revolutionary War fought against. That's why they want to take guns, so they can control us. Let's go.
But here's what I do think. It's a pretty resounding message.
Now, let's put this in perspective. The emergency order won't allow you to carry open or concealed on public parks, schools, government buildings. Now, explain to me how that's going to stop a criminal from going and doing a mass shooting or shooting people anyway. How's it going to stop a criminal? Let me just put this in perspective. So I'm a criminal. I got a gun on me, and I want to do damage or I want to do something to somebody in a park. I'm going to get all the way up to the property of the park and say, man, you know what? Governor Grisham said that I can't have this firearm on this park. So you know what? I'm going to turn around and I'm going to go home because I don't want to be in violation of the law. Not the fact that I already had intentions to commit a felony crime, which is murder. What's going to stop me is not murder, the charge of murder, the prison time of murder. What's going to stop me is the fact that she said I can't open carry the gun or I can't conceal carry the gun on the premise. Y'all, you can't make this stuff up. They have ulterior motives. They want to go and be able to arbitrarily check these firearm dealers. They want to, put people on notice. They want to be able to fine you. They're not going to do nothing to you, but you could face a fine. Now, we all know that there ain't enough cops to monitor every single person that exists in America, in that state or that county. There's not enough cops. 99% of people that are violating that specific order will never get caught. Never. And if you do, they want to fear you into the fact that you may have to pay $5,000 as a fine. But the people who want to do damage, that are gang banging, that are thugging, they got murder on their mind, they don't care about concealing or open carrying a gun.
Facts. Everything he said, 100% facts. It got me thinking too. She wants to know the caliber and the model of the weapon used in the shootings. Why? Oh, that's right. To systematically start eliminating weapons. That, again, history is repeating itself. Go back in time. Go back in your law books of your state and look at how many laws there are that say things like you can't fire your cannon during daylight hours. Cannon. Right. So, put this into perspective. cannons were the largest form of armament during the Revolutionary War. And if there's a law that says I, as a citizen, can't fire my cannon, that means that I was allowed under the Constitution to have the same weaponry as the government, because it's a check and balance. I can have the same weapons as a government so the government doesn't overstep its power. That's the reason it's in there. So to systematically pick and choose what weapons we're going to go after is a violation of the Second Amendment, which, according to the Constitution, are inalienable rights that shall not be infringed. But hey, I've said enough. Go check out Officer Tatum. I'm going to put a link to this video in the description. Check out his stuff. If you haven't subscribed to him already, you should. And speaking of subscribing, if you haven't subscribed to me, please consider doing that if I said something that you agree with. If you do subscribe, let me know in the comments and I'll get right back in touch with you personally. Give this video a like and a share. Help me out in the algorithm if you would, please. And until next time, I am Kix.